So I didn't double check to see if this is already
Is
in
this
our
it?
packet.
Is this it? No. Why
No.
don't I have it?
It's in there.
Oh.
She put it all together. Yeah.
So is this the one we're going off of?
Yep.
Okay.
Is he ready yet? All right, well, let's get this going. Good evening and welcome to the Budget and Finance Committee meeting. Today is Wednesday, May 29th. It is 6:18. Here in the chambers, I have to my right our committee vice chair, Councilor Vivian Marmol, and Council President Giovanni Rodriguez, and to my left, Councilor Wendy Luzon. Pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2022, this meeting of the Budget and Finance Committee is being conducted both in person and via remote participation. A reminder that persons who would like to listen or view this meeting while in progress may either attend here in person at the City Council chamber or may use our YouTube page to view the meeting. At this point, can you join me at in the pledge? Councilors, we do have minutes to approve from our meeting from May 15, 2024. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilor Marmol, seconded by Council President Rodriguez. Any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Straight into new business, our first item is item 244-24, the transfer in the amount of $33,648,351.96 from free cash to various reserves funds, brought to us by our CAFO, Mr. Mark Ianello. Mr. Ianello, you have the floor.
Good evening, councilors. This is, as you just mentioned, a transfer from free cash to various reserves. So I'd just like to quickly explain which reserves I'm talking about. There's a transfer into the OPEB trust fund. We started funding the OPEB trust fund a few years ago. We presently have, because we earn interest in that account, we have $1,619,000 in that account. I'm proposing adding another $1 million to that OPEB trust, so we'll have $2.6 million in that fund. The next transfer is a compensated absence reserve fund. This is just to help pay the people retire. Police and firefighters generally retire. There's always a buyout of vacation and or sick time that they may be eligible for, and that helps with that. Takes the pressure off the general fund operating budget. That reserve has approximately $629,000, and we're adding $100,000 to that. The next one is the workers' compensation claims reserve fund. So workers' compensation claims, we're trying to build that fund up as well. Right now we have $557,000 in that fund, and we're proposing adding another 100. The next one is related, which is injured in the line of duty. We're asking for $400,000 to go into that fund. Presently, that fund has $382,000. And again, those are all claims for police or fire who are injured in the line of duty. And if they have some large medical bills, we'd like to have a reserve so it doesn't impact the general operating budget. The next suggestion, the next suggestion is funding the stabilization reserve undesignated. Presently, we have $3.15 million in that account. I'm proposing adding $7 million to that account, so we would then have roughly $10 million for future needs that the city may have. It's basically the same as free cash, except it's already certified, so we put it together in an account which is undesignated, and we have to come back to the council anytime we want to use it. The next one, I think I mentioned briefly last night, is a stabilization reserve for debt service. We presently have $5 million in that account. I'm proposing we add $15 million to that account, so then we would have $20 million in that account, which pretty much should take care of our future debt service for the Oliver, the Leahy, and the police station, so it won't impact the general fund budget without it, because we didn't have a debt override. So that's my next suggestion. The next one is a stabilization reserve for litigation and judgments. We currently have $566,000 in that account. Proposing adding 1.5 million, so we get it up to 2 million. And it's because we're self-insured for, excuse me, any litigation. So if we have 2 million set aside again, we wouldn't expect that to impact the general operating budget of the account. The city attorney uses that account, and when he uses it, he has to come back down to the council to take it out of the stabilization reserve and put it into his account so he can pay any claims or judgments that has to, or legal bills that have to be, that are incurred. The next item in here is the COVID-19 deficit and the snow and ice expenditures. Thankfully, I'll do the snow and ice first, that's a little quicker. The snow and ice expenditures, thankfully, we only had a $970,000 deficit for snow and ice. We had a mild winter. Oftentimes, that number is generally at least $2 million, and it has been as much as $5 million when we had the blizzard of 15. But, $2 to $3 million is not unusual. But this is great to have just $970,000 needed to wipe out that snow and ice deficit. The other deficit that we've incurred is the COVID-19 deficit. The state has allowed us to carry that over the last few years. And this year, they're asking for everybody to wipe out their COVID-19 deficit or raise it on the tax recap. I prefer to just make a transfer from free cash, wipe out the COVID-19 deficit, which is roughly $7.578 million. And that clears us out for this year. So that's a brief explanation of those transfers.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions or comments? Council President?
Yeah, just through you, Madam Chair, can you explain a little more about the deficit for the COVID-19 expenditures?
Yes. Actually, I have a little handout. I can do it ahead of time. Just a brief while she's handing that out. The COVID-19, as you recall, during the COVID-19 emergency, the state declared an emergency, so we didn't have to come down to the council to declare an emergency, do deficit spend. The governor did that for us. And in 2019, when that deficit started in the panic, the governor allowed all municipalities to, incur costs as you see fit to deal with the emergency. So we've had, over the last several years, particularly mostly for the pandemic, the last year or two, we've really just been trying to, the efforts we've spent was just trying to get reimbursement from FEMA to get as many costs qualified. Mm-hmm. So that's, and the last thing that we've done is, you can see it's a small amount. Well, let me review the numbers quickly. But the revenues we had, there was a Massachusetts CARES grant through the state, federal money through the state, and we received $6.8 million through that grant program. FEMA reimbursed us $9.2 million worth of our expenses, and we had a drug company insurance reimbursement for vaccinations accounted for $315,000. And that's what took a while. The drug companies, we used the UMass Medical Center, and they piecemealed getting money from the drug companies. It took forever for them to get all the reimbursements that we're entitled to. It only accounted for $315,000. But unfortunately, because we did have money coming in, we weren't able to file. The federal government was putting us on hold until we got all of the drug reimbursements, and we were. So it kind of held us up a little bit getting money from FEMA, but we finally got the final monies from FEMA. And just briefly, I'll cover the expenditures. As you can see, a lot of the salaries and overtime was for employees during COVID. You can see there's a police and fire employee backfill. For police and fire particularly, they had a backfill. The fire department in particular, if they had someone in a firehouse that had COVID, they didn't want to contaminate other firehouses, so they couldn't transfer any employees that might be available to cover another station, but they weren't able to transfer them during this COVID-19 emergency. And coincidentally, of course, FEMA said that's not cost eligible, it's not COVID related. So anyway, many of those costs were rejected, but we did get a lot of stuff done. Temporary staffing services, we spent $2.5 million. That was for all the nurses and pharmacists and everything else that you needed to give vaccinations. HVAC, we were able to do some HVAC work to help with the ventilation of some of the city buildings. Vaccines, we purchased vaccines, the cost of vaccines. We purchased test kits so employees could get tested. Subsidized childcare, that's a major expense that did not get reimbursed by FEMA. Again, claiming it's not directly related to COVID, but what we were trying to do was during COVID, people couldn't come back to work because the schools were open, so the kids needed daycare. So we got in a program with the child care circuit, and they had sponsored a program to make people that were not eligible because of their income levels. We were able to give some money to them and to qualify some families for child care so they could get back to work. And then test kits and for PPE is another $560,000. We spent about $4.2 million on technology. Most of that was for the school children, so they could buy them laptops and things like that, so they could get education at home. Most of that was reimbursable through the CARES program. I'm happy to report. There was a grab-and-go food delivery program. We spent $1 million on that. And then we had rapid rehousing for homeless and other people to keep them COVID safe. And it was $920,000 we incurred in that program. And then other expenses, a lot of it was a couple $1 million in other, but a lot of that is supplies and trips to the Home Depot, a lot of Amazon.com purchases for supplies that they either the nurses or the vaccination program incurred, so we just kind of lumped it in one lump sum. So that's pretty much, we took in $16.4 million in revenue and we spent $23.9 million, so for a deficit of $7.6 million. And thankfully we have the free cash to wipe that out. And that's what my suggestion is tonight.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, councilors, can I have a motion to send this up with a favorable recommendation?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Councilor Marmal. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Luzon. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. And the ayes have it. Next item under new business is item 245-24, the bond authorization loan order for appropriation in the amount of $13,415,000 for various water and sewer infrastructure rehabilitation, brought to us by our Commissioner, our Water Commissioner, William Hale. Commissioner, you have the floor.
Good evening, councilors. Good evening, Madam Chair. So tonight I'm here to ask for approval for a loan order in the amount of $13,415,000. This loan money would be used for various water and sewer projects throughout the city. We've identified a lot of these projects through our sewer system evaluation study, where we identify areas that need rehabilitation or replacement. So in the packet, I had given a breakdown of some of the work, well, all of the work, just by category. As you see in the graph under section 1, so we were approved by Mass DEP to get low-interest financing through the SRF fund. It's a state revolving fund in the amount of $9 million, roughly. So we have to pay for the design of those projects through municipal bonds. So we budgeted $940,000 for the design of all those projects, and then $9 million for the construction, which includes police detail and contingencies. In that $9 million, there's a lot of things there, but two of the main projects that we're working on, we have a slide to show you if you want to see that, is the Route 114 pump station. We need to re-pipe that station because we have pipes that are compromised that run through the Shawshene River there. So we're gonna re-pipe the whole station. And then we also have a job on Water Street. There was numerous odor complaints going on for years there. So we're gonna re-pipe that whole area, and put carbon filters in there. I had previously given the council memos, I believe, on those jobs. But we do have them here if you wanna see the slide. If you move down to section 3, SSES 24, and then on section 4 for, year 25, that's the source system evaluation study. That's mandated by Mass DEP, so that's also SRF funding, low interest loans. That's an ongoing, scope of work for those. And then, we added 2 years of our on-call emergency work. So anytime that, an instance comes up where the city can't, especially in the sewers, some of the sewers are very deep here, so we need to have an on-call emergency contractor. Water Street, we had a break there, it was 18 feet deep. So some of it's just beyond our capability. And then we also have under section 7, the raw water intake design. Not sure if you had heard, but last summer when they were working on the canals, they had dropped a river. We had some cavitation, which is air getting into our raw water pumps, which is very dangerous. It can cause a lot of damage. So we want to design a system where we can take water from the middle of the river where it's deeper, so we don't run into those situations of whether it's drought or if they're working on the dams. And then lastly, under section 8, we have the Tower Hill tank. It's in need of masonry repairs, like as soon as possible. We found a crack recently on the outside of it, so we want to get that addressed, but we were previously already working on a plan to regrout the inside of the tower. And then that comes to the total of the $13,400,000.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I'm laughing because I looked to the vice chair. I'm like, who's the counselor for Tower Hill? And she's like, me, hello? So great presentation. Sorry about that. Continue. Or are you?
Yeah, so just on section 8, the Tower Hill masonry, that's just gonna, all inside, the grout is falling down, so we really need to get that regrouted inside, so it's considerable amount of work, but we just budgeted roughly $500,000 for that.
Got it. Counselors, any questions or comments for Commissioner Hale?
Through you,
Council
Madam Chair.
President.
Just to add the corrected document to the records, so
Oh, yes, yes.
just, that will be
Yeah.
important.
I appreciate that.
And it's not in our packet, so I think I was told that you did send it to our city clerk, but it's not, and I'll make sure.
I can resend it in the morning as well.
Yeah, but can you CC me on that too?
Sure.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, councilors, can I have a motion to send this up with a favorable recommendation?
So move.
Motion has been made by Council President, seconded by Council Luzon. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you for your time.
Huh? The city attorney said I
Así que me
go.
gusta, así que me
City.
gusta. Dile que es lo que tú quieres, pide por tu boca.
So we have, our next item is an item from our city attorney, but he's been trying to connect to our Zoom for like the last 10 minutes. Oh, can you, perfect, okay.
If he chimes in, great, but he explained this account to me. Basically, this is.
Okay, hold on, let me just read the item. The item is 246-24, the transfer in the amount of $40,000 from free cash to special projects account for the GLTS airplane hangar. Kafo, you have the floor.
Yeah, so what this is we purchased an airport hangar several months ago, and we're part of so as owners, we're part of a condo, so there's certain fees that we have to pay, and there's no account to pay it. So this will be enough for a year, maybe a year and a half until the GLTS takes it over. It'll be fully reimbursed by GLTS once they get their permission to buy this hangar. So the recommended amount is about 40,000. I think he needs about 25,000 is anticipated for next year, but we bumped it up in case it goes a little bit into the following year. And this will go into a special project account, which will allow us to track all the expenses that we pay, so that when JLTS is ready to own the property, we'll have an account, and we'll say, okay, here's the amount we need to be reimbursed. So that's the item before you.
Madam Chair,
Council President?
I would like to make a motion to send it to the full council with a favorable recommendation.
Motion has been made, seconded by Councilor Marmal. Discussion?
Discussion.
Council President.
Madam Chair, I just don't want this whole project to just go blind on the champion that actually took this project and actually advocate a lot, and that's Councilor Marmal that is right next to me. She was able to advocate and make sure that initially this project took over, and I just don't want this to just to be put on the side. With her leadership, we were able to accomplish a result, and that result have been the purchase of a hangar, getting the program up and running, well, fighting hard to make sure that the program is up and running, and now keep on investing the money that is needed to maintain the project alive and make sure that we do what we need to do. So thank you, Councilmember.
Thank you.
Council President,
Maria, can you get Bill? Because we're gonna need him for the next item. Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. So our next, I'm gonna wait for Bill Collins. I don't see the airport manager.
I don't think he's, Francisco?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's available.
Yeah, but we have, Bill is a commissioner for the airport, and he usually knows. a lot. Well, I have two items for the airport. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory, but just in case. Okay. The next item. It's, I did not. Yeah. The next item is item 262-24, the authorization of grant assurances with MassDOT for weather cameras, FAA network connection. And this was brought to us by our airport director, Francisco Urena. However, we have Mr. Collins here, who's a commissioner of the airport. I mean, this is pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair.
Due to potential conflict of interest, I'm gonna send to the next two items.
Okay.
And I'm gonna resume from the discussion.
Okay. Can we make sure that that's reflected on, Council President is recusing himself due to a potential conflict of interest. Commissioner Collins, you have
Thank you.
the floor.
These were two grants we got from the State Department of Transportation for the cameras. Took a while to get all the parts together, so they're finally installed, totally paid for by a state grant. And this is just part of the process to make sure it goes through the council.
Any questions or comments, councilors? Seeing none, can I have a motion to send this up with a favorable recommendation? Motion has been made by Councilor Marmal. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Luzon. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Our last item is item 263-24, the authorization of grant assurances with MassDOT for installation of security gate operators. Also brought to us from the airport director, Francisco Urena. Commissioner, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The airport recently had some new electronics put in for all our gates. We have 5 gates at different points of the airport, security gates. So we had trouble with the former electronic pads that were there, so this covers all of our security gates, so all our customers can access the airport.
Councilors, any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have a motion to send this up with a favorable recommendation? Motion has been made by Counselor, I want to say Luzon again, Marmal, seconded by? By Counselor Luzon. Discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members.
Thank you. At this point, councilors, are there any items under table business you'd like to untable? Oh, can you tell? Seeing none, can I have a motion to conclude?
So moved.
Motion has been made by Counselor Marmal, seconded by Counselor Luzon. All those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much. I'll see you in 20 minutes, councilors.
No pueden respirar. basketball, but I know my family.
There's someone on Zoom with the iPhone. Can you hear us? Hello?
Eso es que ya estamos en la final. Pasamos anoche.
Yo sé que mi casa está en eso.
Aquí estaba anoche ya. Pasamos a la final. Vamos a ganar. Puede ser que se enfrenten a otros dominicanos. A Towns.
Era.
A Hadley Towns, dos centros dominicanos.
Yo nada más sé half. Mi esposo jugó profesional en Santo Domingo.
¿Oh, sí?
Sí,
¿En dónde?
en GUG.
¿Oh, sí? ¿A poner duro?
El tipo sí, de lo histórico.
Mándanos para Hebron, que le vamos a dar su canquiñá.
No, yo no, bueno, ay que no, ya llovió mucho yo.
Nosotros nos damos los sábados.
Pero no,
Yo estoy cojo.
yo le voy a preguntar, no, pero tú eres un niño. Va a seguir, son 6'5".
Tenemos un par de viejitos ahí.
Es verdad, pero bueno, vamos a preguntarle. Él tiene se fracturó.
¿Qué?
Con Ramón.
Ahí juega. Vamos aquí a ver.
All right, are we all set? Why do I have an echo here?
El viejito está para eso.
Why do I have an echo here? Can you, hello?
De Nadarón.
Can you, I have an echo here. I have
Maybe.
an echo
You're good?
on Zoom. Oh, okay.
I'll make sure.
Got it. All right. Counselors, can I have a motion to resume from recess?
So move.
Motion has been made by Council President, seconded by Council Marmal. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Counselors, we are resuming with our budget hearings. Today we have the city clerk's office, the city clerk, elections, vital stats and annual listing, city attorney, Lawrence Fire Department, fire administration, fire suppression, fire alarm, fire mechanical division, fire electrical inspection, office of planning and community development, economic development, and boards and office of planning and boards and commissions. You good? All right, the first office on our list is the city clerk's office. Is anyone here from the city clerk? Our city clerk is here. Madam Clerk, you have the floor. Make sure you tell us the page number of.
Sure. Councilors, my budget is on page 53 if you're looking at a paper copy. If you're looking at the online PDF, it's page 55. And it does, as you mentioned, cover both the clerk's office, the elections, and then the census. So there's kind of three sections to it. For the most part, my budget is the same. There are some contractual increases for personnel items. The majority of my staff belongs to the clerical union, also known as the LACE union, and that union had a change in their contract this year where we eliminated the senior clerk position and everyone became a principal clerk. So you'll notice some positions being eliminated and other positions being created. There's really no new personnel there at all. It's just a contractual change of title, part of the union negotiations. The main change that we had is postage increases, and as our population is growing, we are sending out more mail for both the census and ballots. So we did ask for an increase in the postage. That's really the only change that's not directly related to personnel increases that are contractual. I don't know if you have any questions on any of that, but I'm happy
And
to.
this is just, let's keep going. Elections Department.
Same as in elections, my staff, again, in the elections office is, again, primarily in the LACE union, which is the clerical union. Aside from the assistant clerk, everyone else belongs to that union. So again, if you see changes to personnel, it's the contractual change. There's no new positions, no elimination of positions. It's just the change of titles.
And then your last section, which is page 58.
Yeah, page 58 is the census, really. We send out the census, we get it back, we process it. People that do not return their census will be declared inactive, so please return your census. On June 3rd, we actually make that change with the state, making people inactive. And an inactive voter can still vote, they just need to show ID. But that's the cost for sending out the census, getting it processed and back, and logged in with the state.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions or comments for the city clerk? Councilor Marmal.
Through you, Madam Chair, is it possible, going forward, whenever we're gonna go through the budget, if a little bit of further detail is given to justify the increases of the budget? So,
Sure.
with the exception of when there's new hires, because that's, obviously, I would understand that. But, for example, the assistant clerk, where there is no change of new hires, could we get more detail in regards to the increase in the salary?
Sure. Both assistant clerks in the elections office and the main office, they did have a new contract negotiated during the last fiscal year. So will see an increase in their pay, which is still low for the services and the work that they do. But both assistant clerks do have, again, a contractual pay raise because their union negotiated pay raises in their last contract. Yep.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Council President.
What is the typical average salary for a principal account clerk?
I'm looking at the,
Just a little under 50,000. And I just want to just add what Eileen indicated. We eliminated there were senior clerks and principal clerks, so in our union negotiations this year, we eliminated the senior clerks and made everybody a principal clerk in exchange for, now we're allowed to cross-train those clerks. So all the clerks can now be cross-trained, whereas before, a senior clerk couldn't do work of a principal clerk. So that was a major problem. We had a few grievances over somebody doing somebody else's job. So we did increase their pay, but in exchange, we can now cross-train our employees within the departments and even outside the department. So occasionally, if a department only has one clerk and they're out, we can borrow a clerk from another department for that day while that person's out sick and place them in another department. Doesn't really happen, but it happens once or twice a year. But at least that gives us the right to do that. So I thought it was a pretty good exchange.
And this is for what position again? Principal
Principal
account.
account clerk.
Okay.
Principal clerks, all the clerks in the city hall are all principal clerks now. Principal clerks or principal account clerks, they're paid the same.
And they're the ones under union contracts.
And they're under Local 3 clerical union.
Can you repeat the salary, please?
Yeah, it's roughly, I don't have the amount, but it's roughly a little under 50,000 because we have 3 principal account clerks at 140, combined equal 147,140. So it's just a little under 50,000 per principal account clerk.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Give me one second. And then the assistant clerk, the assistant city clerk, and the assistant clerk under the elections office, those two are not union.
They're in the union. They're in
They're-
a different union, but they're in the union. And again, you saw the salary was quite low, so we proposed, again, we increased the principal clerk salary, the clerks to a principal clerk. So we also proposed to the union that we'd like to get the assistant clerks an increase in pay as well. So quite a few positions in the supervisor administrators union, of which the assistant clerks are members. We've raised some of the salaries. There was the assistant city treasurer is now the assistant city treasurer and collector, so we asked for a bump in pay to reflect the two parts of the operation instead of just one half.
I mean,
So there's a few other positions like that we proposed.
I mean, I know collective bargaining and contract negotiation is a very lengthy process, but I'm looking at these salaries and I don't even know how the union justifies the amount of work that these, specifically, because I know I've seen it,
yeah.
that these two assistant clerks do, and yet we're raising salaries for people who pretend that they're doing their job. Like, it's just, it's crazy to me. Council President.
No, just to reiterate what you were saying. Around anybody that is basically receiving people in front of in their desk, those are considered principal clerks, right? Just to put
Yeah.
in simple
Yeah.
word, right?
That is an accurate description, yeah.
So anybody that walk through City Hall, most likely gonna be attended by somebody under that position.
That's correct.
And the pay for that is under 50,000.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
I will say, my staff, to a person, works incredibly hard. Like, we have the busiest office in the building.
We know.
Thank you, okay.
We know.
Anyway, I don't know if you have any other questions, I'll stop. Any questions?
Council
Through you.
President.
Just to finish, I mean, it is important that I think that we keep track of services that you provide, clients that come in,
Yeah.
and take notes. Probably you can do it through, I don't know how, but I mean,
I
kind
know-
of like, you know, because I mean, at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it is a great point for the police department when they say, you know, we
Oh, I
serve
know
this
you-
amount of
yeah,
people, and this is true.
Yeah,
They do, but I
give
mean, there is
stats.
other department as well.
We do give statistics to the mayor's office every month of the total number of birth certificates, death certificates, marriage licenses, and business certificates that we give out every month. And it is a really high number. I can get you those numbers every month because they are impressive numbers. And I know that informally, the greeter in the hallway keeps track of who goes into how many offices. And he has told us, like, that office averages about 7 people a day. Your office averages about 50 people a day. Like, we really are the busiest office in the building as far as genuine foot traffic coming through the door.
I would like numbers.
Yeah, we can get you those.
For sure. A little accurate. I mean, probably within the office, any principal clerk might keep count on the
Yeah.
service of the day, because at the end of the day, it's gonna be convenience to know.
And
Convenience for them to know like how many people they have served during this month and during the year.
We do keep track, and I can get you those numbers. In addition to foot traffic through the door, we have online orders, so people can order online, but we have to fill those orders. And then we have people that phone in orders, and then people that mail in old-fashioned mail. So we, in addition to the foot traffic, we have a substantial amount of additional requests that we fulfill every day, too. Plus, people they get lost, so they just come in and, like, we do a lot of, like, where do I get my passport kind of stuff, too. We help anybody that comes through the door.
I would like to see that.
can get you those numbers,
That's
absolutely.
important. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Madam Clerk, and thank you, Madam Chair.
No, Councilor Luzon.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to add a comment. So we have people in this building that are making $65,000 more money than the people that are really doing the job at the city clerk's office. And we also, just for the community to know, a maintenance person that works at maintenance at the center makes $50,000 to $51,000. So this is outrageous, the way these salaries are calculated, just for the record.
Thank you, Councilor Luzon. Any further questions or comments? Council
And
President?
just to reiterate what Councilor Luzon said, that person is very fighty, the one that you're referring to.
The person very what?
Fighty.
Anyways. Madam Clerk, is there anything else that you want to highlight within your budgets?
No, we
you-
did ask for like an increase of postage with the mayor's office, we did receive it, everything that we needed is in here, so we're
Okay.
very comfortable with the budget. And if you have any questions, we're happy to try to answer.
Thank you. I just asked to keep it consistent. Any additional documents or information that the counselors have requested on this committee, I'm asking it to be sent by the end of this week, and I know it's Thursday, so
Sure.
literally, but if you can, that would be great.
So you want the numbers, like, we can pull numbers together by tomorrow, is that what you
Perfect,
said,
yep,
other
yep.
documents?
As soon as you pull them, can you send it to us?
Yep.
Council President.
Thank you. It is important for people to know that the city clerk office fall into the supervision of the city council. And when it comes to one specific line item here, we've been doing things a little different, and that's the advertisements. I know that those numbers, how you feel about that number, Madam Clerk?
Page 54. Page 54. Under purchase of services.
Yeah, I do know that the $13,000 figure that's right there is low. I do know we have a few outstanding bills with the Tribune that need to be paid. That being said, with this new council, we have been working very hard to do combined advertising, where instead of each ad costing us $400, we're doing one ad for $1,000, but it covers 6 or 7 different items, and it has been much more economical. So that was a great introduction by your group, and I'm happy to do that. It doesn't make it any more difficult to post, like, the ads are just as easy to post, and they are much more economical. So, it's only been a few months, you know what I mean? I don't know the long term, but I do see we're gonna have a savings there, absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure, like, you know, any extra fund that goes onto that account that could be used for any other things that is more, a little innovative, so we can keep on working on getting any other particular portion of the department
Yeah.
within the supervision of the city council to innovate around things a little more. So any extra fund that you have there, Mr. Caffo, if we can roll it over, that would be great, specifically on that account, because that will be essential to maintaining the innovation around that.
Just to be clear, we can't roll it over, but she can put a purchase order and encumber it and then carry it over. We're not allowed to carry everything over at the end of the year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're all set, thank you.
But I'll get you guys those numbers by tomorrow, absolutely.
Awesome, thank you. So we have the city attorney here. Huh? No, he never connected. Madam Clerk, before you leave, can you connect with the city attorney and see, we need him here Monday. I'm gonna move his budget from Monday. Thank you. All right, next up, we have Lawrence Fire Department. Chief, are you ready? Welcome, it's been a while.
How are you, councilors?
Good, how are you?
Good. Nice to see you this year. It's going to be down and dirty easy. We get a bunch of topics, but in general, our budget, even though we have many different divisions, that's all falls under us. We've had very few changes, although the money looks different, but it's all based on the CBA, contractual.
What page are we on?
I'm just talking in general.
Oh, okay.
But we start on page 77.
Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't reading the page, though.
No, it's okay. Continue.
Continue? Okay, so, as Mark did with every other union this last year, last year and a half, 2 years, a lot of negotiations went on, and that's a result of almost all of our budget changes, with 2 small exceptions. One was, they gave us an extra $50,000 towards overtime next year. And the other thing is, if you notice the numbers, if you counted, there was a captain that in a previous administration was taken out of the fire department and was put somewhere else, but he was still a captain, but they put him in somebody else's budget. Well, now he's back in our budget. But he's always been there, it's just that he was paid differently from a different account. Other than that, it's the same budget as last year. There's nothing else that's changed. All the increases are contractual. We have the same amount of people, although right now I'm trying to fill vacancies. You know, that takes forever.
How many vacancies do you have?
Right now I have 4.
4?
We have 4 people about to start. Tell you they're gonna start June, well, the 10th or the 11th is, whichever the first Monday, that Monday in June, they go into the academy. So technically, they start with us on the payroll. That starts Sunday. They go to the academy for 1 day, then they come back with us. Then they start the academy in July for a 10-week program. But I already talked with the new personnel director, and we're already gonna try to get the list and start, hire more, because just today, I had a guy walk in and tell me he retired yesterday. No warning, so lieutenant. So not only are we going to be able to make a promotion fairly soon, we're going to have to fill another hole.
Yeah.
That's the hard part. It takes 6 to 8 months to seem to hire anybody. It takes forever.
Chief,
Yes, ma'am.
last budget cycle, this committee brought up, obviously different counselors, but this committee brought up the need to diversify our fire personnel. How is that going? Do you have a quick
Well,
update on that?
we work on a civil service
Yep.
list,
Yep.
and that's how it runs. The majority of the people that I have hired since I've been here have been Latino, so I don't,
Oh, no, we were talking about men and women. Men and women.
oh,
That's what I mean by
I
diversify.
wasn't sure.
No, we're talking
I
about men, we're
apologize.
genders here, men and women.
Well,
Or
well,
however
again,
a
we
person
hire off
identifies.
a civil service list, and I haven't had a female appear on the list yet. And we don't pick, we say we have 4 vacancies, we're gonna start interviewing, they send us the top numbers for their formula that matched to fill 4.
Yeah.
However, the applicants score on their test, in their PATs, I am misspeaking. Diana Velasquez is she's a fire alarm dispatcher right now, and she's been on and trying to get through the physical part. So she's still trying, and she's still one of the 6 we tried to hire. She and one other person are being held up in the medical part. So I shouldn't say she's appeared every time, and we've given her a shot every time. She keeps being held up at the medical panel. So nothing I can do about that. She's the only one that I've had, though, on the list.
Okay. Counselors, any questions or comments for the fire department, fire administration, budget? Counselor Luzon?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through you, Madam Chair. Chief, are you familiar with emergency manager position? Is that part of your current responsibility as a chief of the fire department?
It was, ma'am. I was the emergency manager for the city from the time I started employment until this year.
Were you getting paid?
No, I was
So you
not.
were doing it for free as a,
Well, you could look at it, it was an additional duty I did for free, but it was part of my salary, I guess. Do I think I was underpaid? Yes.
thank you, Chief.
But I no longer am responsible for that.
So if I may, Madam Chair, through you, do any towns, well, you're very familiar with the fire departments in this area, do they have that position out of the fire department or police department?
I know of 2 places where it's in the police department. Andover, the police chief is the emergency manager, the police chief, and in Haverhill, the police chief is the emergency manager.
Through you, Madam Chair, if this position in any town that you're familiar runs by a department, like, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, are you aware of any city or town that has this position as a department?
The town of North Andover
Okay.
has an emergency manager,
So, and he's.
One single person.
One single
and
person.
I don't know if it's a full-time position or not, but I know that there's a single person that does. The last time I talked to the chief over there, that they had a single person that did it. I don't know if it's still doing it, times, it's been a couple of months.
In other towns and cities, that responsibility of the emergency manager is for the chief of the fire department?
In the state of Massachusetts, the vast majority of emergency managers are the fire chief.
Go ahead.
There are a few that have the police chief, and then there are a few that have the money to have emergency managers. The city of Boston has an emergency management department. The city of Cambridge has an emergency management department, division, if you will, or department. But most of them are, and when I say most, I'd probably say 3/4 of them are fire chiefs.
Okay, so one of the qualifications to become a emergency manager is to have experience, through you, Madam Chair, to have experience as a chief of the fire, in the fire department?
I don't think that.
Counselor Luzon, is there going to be a financial question related to this?
Yes,
Because we have
Madam
to keep it
Chair.
moving.
I'm trying to keep it moving. I just want to get information to make a rational decision when it's my turn to vote. But I want my community to understand the responsibility of the emergency manager. I also want my constituents to know that the chief has been doing this job basically for free, and that he has the expertise and experience to continue doing, and that will save the city $130,000. So, Chief, if
Yes,
you
ma'am.
may, what are the qualifications from your perspective to become an emergency manager?
From my perspective, it should be somebody in a high-ranking position that's had the ability over his career or her career to handle many different type of emergencies, have attended emergency classes that involve incident command system and emergency management throughout the state and the country. I've been certified in all the levels of incident command. I've taken through Riviera College a certified emergency management program, a number of classes there. There is an institute at Emmitsburg, Maryland, that runs a program for emergency management, and people can go there and take classes and actually get a high level of certification. In some big cities, big places that have a lot of cash to spend, but it's well worth spending, emergency management is very important. We all remember 9/11, and that emergency management was very much involved with that city, but their emergency operations center was part of what was destroyed in one of the buildings next to the 9/11, the Twin Towers. So you got to have a backup plan all the time, and what it is about is having a plan to assist us. Like, I have connections with the state and MEMA, so when we had the gas explosions, I was able to just contact MEMA and the other fire chiefs, and we had mobilization. We had to work with the DPW and get our stocks. We were able to get the porta potties here, the light towers here, the mobile kitchens were here. We were able to do all that stuff, and a lot of that is emergency management. We had an emergency management trailer came that was the fire department command post, although I'm sure as you remember, there were 1 million command posts, but we all met at one big one, and then would go out to our little trailers ourselves to run our own divisions. But so there's a lot involved in it when it happens, but that was a fairly large multi-jurisdictional, multi-state even event, because that involved New Hampshire and helped us, so.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Counselor. Chief,
Ma'am.
I'm seeing here that the fire administration budget still includes an assistant fire chief that's still vacant.
That's correct.
I'm seeing on page 81, we have 4 deputy fire chiefs that their salaries total over $400,000, and 7 captains with salaries totaling over $600,000. Is there even a need for the assistant fire chief? And if not, why was it kept in the budget?
The council tried to cut it, and it was shot down last year.
I do recall that.
Okay, so that's why it's
I
still
voted
there.
for that. Yeah.
I was not in support of the attempt to fill in the manner that it was being filled at that time.
But why is it, we tried to cut it last year, it didn't go through for fiscal year 2024. Now we're in FY 2025, and it's
We're
still,
not in there yet, but
well,
we're working on
we're
it.
working on it, and
Yeah.
it's still included.
It is, it's the same budget.
Okay, all right. All
Madam
right.
Chair?
Council President.
Through you, Madam Chair. Chief, as you recall, as far as you recall, is that those funds that were allocated for the assistant chief, were that money transferred to another account?
But in our department, we used it to help payroll. We have what's called a lost time factor, which is $300,000 it's taken out. So we have a bunch of many different accounts that have the money in it. And as the year goes on, and as we find that, this one's a little low, this one's a little high, we move them around so that we don't have to have a big red zero at the end. So we try to balance things. That helped us to pay and help make up for the vacancies that we had on shift and in overtime, because we have a lost time factor, which is basic payroll, but not only are the payroll taken out of that, but then I don't have those positions to fill overtime, so it costs me more in overtime to keep the truck staffed. So it didn't go to waste. You guys don't know it yet, but I'm on the agenda for the next council meeting because I need to come back for some free cash. Because I told you I would.
I know you did. Council President, you all set?
No, let me just
Continue.
recap on that lost time factor. For the last 2 years, you have 150,000 on that account, and this year I see that you have 300,000.
I believe it was 300,000 last year, wasn't it? It was 300,000 last year, too. Pretty sure.
Page 81.
81. On page 81, it says lost time factor, if you see budget year 24, and then this year 25, last year was 300,000. It's the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line down, sir.
Seeing the 300,000. I don't know if I'm seeing it in the wrong place from last year.
Last year was 300,000.
If yours last year's budget and it says 300,000, then you're reading it right.
Anyway, that was the last year portion of it, and this year. But you say that you add portion of that assistant chief to that 300,000 on top,
We
right?
use it towards the makeup, because we spend more in overtime than I'm allotted, so anything that's extra, we move it over there.
And you last year you also received, I believe, 1 or 2 transactions from free cash to.
I did last year. I honestly don't remember how much I asked for last year off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
I don't, do you happen to remember what I had? You do? Of course he does. That's why he's the careful. I did. I needed money. 350 last year.
50 last year and then 350 previous year. That's what it was. Something like that, or 300 the previous year.
Last year I had to ask for 350,000, he said.
And are you expecting to come over in front of the council to ask for the same amount?
No, same amount? No, I'm asking now for 520. Because somebody just retired today, it cost us another $40,000.
Okay. All right, no problem. Once we get those in
I
front
have
of
the
us,
documents to justify it.
then we have
I'll
that.
explain
We'll
it.
take a look at it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Let's move on to fire suppression. And before we do, actually, I also want to recognize, we do have the fire union president here, Dan Zerois. Welcome.
Hi, Dan.
Nice support, huh?
Well, it's the first time,
Please.
so it's nice.
Well, he's a new president.
I'm
Don't,
not
and my
picking on-
constituent.
I don't mean
Chief,
first
my
time.
constituent. Be careful.
It's not what I meant. I meant, it's nice, first time the union's been here. They're
Continue,
probably
Chief.
watching on television, but this time he showed up, so
But
that's
he's,
good.
yeah. Well, thank you for being here,
Yeah.
Dan. Continue, Chief, please.
Were you asking a question?
Oh, no, just.
No,
continue.
so what are you up to, suppression?
Yep.
And that's the same, it's contractual increases. Nothing else was given to us that we wanted.
I do have a quick question under stipend. That's been increased by $15,000. What are we using the stipends for? To cover what?
We have
Oh, contractual?
Yep. EMT stipends. I also have that's not under this one, never mind. Different guy, as the electrician.
Counselors, any questions for the fire suppression budget? Giving them a second and looking it over. Well. Seeing none for now, we can go back. Chief, fire alarm budget.
Now we're going on. Fire alarm. Fire alarm, that is the same.
Same.
It doesn't, doesn't change. We didn't really have any changes, other than collective bargaining agreement. We have the same numbers for staff, didn't go up, didn't go down. I'm just trying to fill vacancies in a slow process,
And lastly, the fire and mechanical division,
which is,
page 84.
yep. 84. Yep, that's
Which
my
is it?
mechanics.
No
And I gotta give him kudos. I mean, he doesn't look at the budget at all, but we have had an extremely difficult time trying to fill our second slot, and our mechanic has done wonders for the fire department. He keeps the rigs in the best operation that we could possibly hope. He's always working. He was in this weekend for the common here, where our light towers that are lighting up the flags at, all night long, and one of the light towers broke, and he came in and fixed that on
You
a
talking about
Sunday.
the mechanic or the
I'm
superintendent?
mechanic.
The mechanic?
Yeah, he's our superintendent of apparatus. He's a one-man show, but he does it all.
So I have a question then. What is the salary that he would be, because we have here a proposed budget for a superintendent and then,
That's him.
That's him.
He's the superintendent.
okay, all right, got it. So a mechanic for help for him is currently vacant, because that's also being budgeted.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're trying to fill it, and I've been trying. I think today's society, it's not enough money, and hopefully if we ever go back to budget, maybe we can raise it, but guys, it's hard work. We're having a hard time getting somebody who's a good, skilled mechanic,
I mean,
and we're not alone in that. I will say, I've talked to some other fire chiefs, they're having trouble getting it too. In fact, it's so bad that down where the stadium is, that chief there, he happens to have a really good mechanic, and the other fire towns around there are going to him to get it fixed. It's that bad, they can't get mechanics either.
all
Madam
right,
Chair?
counselors, at this point, any questions regarding fire administration, suppression, fire alarm, and mechanical? Oh, we have one. I'm gonna go, question, Council
Electrical
President.
light is
We're
what
gonna,
left.
give me 1 second, Chief. Council
Oh.
President?
I thought you were asking, sorry.
No, just wondering about a couple of questions, but before we leave the mechanic portion of it, you mean literally a mechanic that actually deal with the trucks and
Fire
stuff like
trucks,
that?
Heavy diesel mechanic.
Heavy
heavy-
Diesel mechanic?
Yeah, heavy mechanic. We're having a hard time getting one. We haven't had anybody apply, and we've been pushing it every time, well.
And what are the
I have a
requirements
new
that you look
personnel-
for that?
I'm sorry?
The requirement that you look for that?
Well, you gotta be it helps if you're a diesel mechanic and know how to fix stuff besides lawnmowers. I mean, these guys are putting their lives on the line on $1 million ladder trucks, $500,000 pumps, brakes, brakes are difficult, fixing pumps, the ladders,
And where do you guys fix it? I mean, do you
We
need a
have- in the bay,
huge
right?
shop?
Yeah, you've been there. Well, maybe you didn't
Do
realize.
you need to
it.
put them up?
I'm sorry?
Do you have the capability of putting one of those truck up?
Well, our trucks, the cabs lift, so the ladder trucks, he moves the ladder to the side, and the cab goes up, and you work on the motor that way.
Okay.
We do have a lift for the cars, the vehicles, and the pickup trucks. And he does the lift, he does it all. He does the little, he fixes chainsaws, he fixes everything we have. Yeah, I can't say enough about him. I wish we could have two of them.
I have a few other questions for the other department, Madam Clerk.
Okay, let's finish last portion, the electrical, and then
Electrical
I'll open up
inspector?
the floor for the
He's
councilors.
the electrical inspector is a single person. He's worth his weight in gold. I talked to him today, he's been out doing all these apartment buildings. That's Kevin Mizuraki, he does a great job, and this doesn't show it, but he brings in more than double what he costs. So he's well worth it. And he also comes to our fires as the electrical inspector. When we have a fire to help us rule out electricity or rule it in, whatever the case might be. But again, he's in the union, it's contractual if anything's changed, which it has, and it's the same.
Okay.
One-man shop.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions or comments for the fire chief? Council President?
Madam Chair, through you, I have a few questions when it comes to one of the main
Can you give us
discussion.
the page number again?
No, just in general.
Oh,
One of the main discussion the concerns that the chief have It's about hiring. So, Chief, I hear a few things about the hiring process. Is there a limit to become a firefighter department?
Say that again,
Is there a limit on age to become a firefighter department?
I don't believe this city has a limit anymore on the age. It's not that we, somebody call? We do have one? Yeah, but they went over once we hired old guys. We hired a guy that's old. All right, my mistake. 32 is the state limit, and evidently it's back in. News to me. But it's not that we don't have people on the list. I have a lot of people on the list. It's the process. The process takes forever. They take a written test, then they have to take a PAT. So then we send them the list. They have to do a mailing out for the numbers that want the thing, with a card. You have to come in and sign the list. You get X amount, a couple of weeks to do that. Once that comes in and they sign the list, now we schedule interviews. They have to come in and we got to do our interviews. Then I forward that on, and based on the interviews and the administration figures out who we're going to offer a job, and then they go get what's called a conditional letter of offer. Is that what it's called? Offer letter, and then they do another PAT and have to go pass a physical again. Or not, yeah, again. No, first physical. That's the physical, but another PAT. They have to pass, and PAT is a physical agility test. It's when you drag the dummy, climb the ladders, pull the rope up and down, pulling the hook like you were pulling ceilings. After that, then I have their names, and then I can send them into the academy. And the academy won't give me a slot for academy until I have a name. So they have to pass all that first, then I get academy dates. Now, these group that are hiring, starting next month, they're not going to the academy until July, and then they're there for 10 weeks. So it's a long, slow process.
From the beginning to end, well, can you kind of like
6
guess?
months.
6 months?
I think better
And when it comes to
prepared
cost,
than
how much it costs the city around to hire somebody?
Well, we pay for the medicals, and I don't know what that's cost me recently. And the PAT we don't pay for, and I don't pay for them to take a test, that's on them. The academy, they're getting paid while they're there as an employee, so they're getting paid like a regular firefighter for 10 weeks. And they have, there's X amount of hours built into that. I can't remember the number, I want to say 27, but it's a number off the top of my head because of the time to travel out there and come back. Yeah, and it's in the contract, I just can't remember the number off the top of my head.
So there is any increasement on salary that is non-union related?
Is there an increase that's non-union related? No.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you so much, Chief.
Thanks. Nice seeing you all.
Nice seeing you. It's been a while, like I said earlier.
Oh, I'm gonna see you again in 2 weeks.
Oh, I know. Neighborhood meeting. Thank you, Chief. The next department, we have Office of Planning and Community Development. Director Matos, you have the floor.
Good evening, councilors. I'm here to request that you approve our budget, and in this budget, we're looking to staff planning a little bit more so that we can carry out a variety of different functions, as well as really create a situation where the workload is more manageable and we're able to actually take on more work that is beneficial for the city, because one of the unique things about this department is that we actually bring in funding and manage projects that the city normally doesn't have to take out of its operating or capital budget. So it's a very important department and unique from that perspective, in which that we bring in revenue from the city, and in fact, a lot of the positions are subsidized from those other types of sources of funding, which is not the operating fund. So for example, we have state grants, we have federal grants that we manage, and also assist us to be able to carry out the work that's important for the city.
Let's start with, the first one, Office of Community Development, page 60 and 61. And I'm assuming you're gonna be the one going through all the sub.
I'm happy to answer the questions we can, and we have some of my staff here to
Perfect.
answer. I believe one of the other ones is online as well.
Yep. I actually see her, she has her
Correct. So
hand.
Wilda is the Director of Community Development, so any specific questions, she'll probably be also able to add some information to it or insights.
Okay, let's start off with Office of Community. Oh, is she, Wilda, are you still on? I saw your hand.
Yes, I am here and I can present for community development or any questions you guys have. And I also would like to add something, but if the OPD director wants to start, that's great.
You cut off, so, we didn't hear.
I think she wanted to add some comment to addition to
Oh,
what I said,
can you
and
hear me now?
also said she was able to answer any questions.
Can you tell them to, hold on,
addition.
Wilda. Can you tell them to,
Are you able to hear me now, counselors?
give us a second, hold on a second. We're gonna turn up the volume.
Sure.
Director, you're gonna have to speak a little louder. 'Cause
Okay, no problem. Yeah, I can definitely speak after the OPD director presents.
Okay. All right, let's go into it. First one.
Sure, so, like I said, there's been a little bit of a change, and I think Mark could explain in terms of the accounting from previous years, which I think would explain some of the additional positions on the project officer side, for example. But if you'll notice, on the community development, it's actually a reduction from last year from that. So I don't know if, Mark, you want to explain the difference in the accounting this year?
Basically just that we went from 4 positions to 11 positions. They're really, these are positions that were not in the budget. We placed them all in the budget, and then we subtracted out, as you can see, grant reimbursements of $626,000. So as Carlos just mentioned, the budget is actually $90,000 less than what was requested last year for this division, community development.
So as I stated earlier, it's because we bring in a lot of grants, and the positions are often paid through grants. Last year, this wasn't, these positions weren't there listed as they were grant-paid positions, and this year they are.
To you, Madam Chair.
Council President?
I think that, me being in the council since 2015, I saw my first budget in 2016, and it was always a question around this department when it comes to positions. It was never clear. So I'm glad that I'm seeing the position listed as it should, and also the grant reimbursement, because in that way we clear with things that are in those budgets. So I'm glad to see this, to be honest with you.
Are you, what's that? My question is, I'm looking at specifically page 61, the breakdown of the salaries, and I'm looking at specifically the community health specialist, and I just, right now, I Googled the median salary for a community health specialist, which is $62,074, and we're below that. So that's, I don't understand, but I'm seeing throughout the whole entire budget, important positions that do a lot and not getting, they're being
I'm glad
lowballed.
that you're saying that, Council Chairman.
Yeah, if I could just remind
Is
everybody.
this a union position? Is that why?
I don't know if this, I don't think this is a union position off the top of my head, but I'm not exactly sure.
It's
But
not,
one of the, it's hard to compare us to average salaries. Remember, we have pensions, we pay 75% of everybody's health insurance, we have many other benefits that some of the commercial clients do not get. So
Well,
we
and-
are
and-
somewhat competitive.
and so do the other people, individuals that get six figures, they get the same benefits. So I don't understand. And I'm speaking also from personal experience, coming from the health sector. I worked a lot with the community health specialist. I know how valuable this individual is to our community, for our community, and I just don't understand it. But councilors, any questions or
Sure,
comments?
that is
I'm gonna go to Councilor Luzon since you already spoke. Councilor Luzon.
Page 60, can you explain other expenses? Because you're asking for $50,000.
Sure, I'll have the director explain that. Are you on there, Wilda?
Awilda?
Can you speak to that, please?
Director Pimentel?
Yes, yes. I actually had asked for an additional $50,000 to assist small businesses, which is separate from the business grants that have gone on from the Thriving Lawrence, and also for displacements or any emergencies that come into our department. Because we get a lot of foot traffic. Just alone in the Community Development Department, in 2 hours, for example, yesterday, we got over 114 people that came to get applications. That's a lot of people that are coming in for services that we are assisting. And sometimes we don't have additional funding out of our budget to even assist these people. I also would like to add, as I see today, is a theme where a lot of people are bringing up the issue of underpay. I do want to make sure that this city council is aware that I would like to recommend a gender pay equality. I believe that a lot of the females in director, deputy directors, managers, and assistant manager positions are underpaid. And I would like to recommend an analysis on that and hopefully an increase that can be allowable into our budget to maintain for our city, that we can stay competitive and retain the amazing talent that we have.
Director Pimentel, thank you so much for that suggestion. Many of us were, including people in the gallery, were nodding our heads when you were stating this. So thank you. That's a very important point, and I'm sure we will look into it. Councilor Luzon?
Thank you.
Director Pimentel, I
Yes.
think my suggestion will be to suggest that to the mayor's office, because they are very generous when it comes to salaries to people that don't deserve salaries that high. I would like to, if it's possible, if you can send in details what will be the other expended. If you can create like a list just for clarification. Because when you mention to help businesses, is that a technical assistant? Because knowing the need that we have in the community for our businesses, $50,000, it's not a lot of money, Director Pimentel. And I know that you mean well, that you want to help businesses in our community, but $50,000 is not going to go far.
That's correct, Councilor Luzon. And I'll definitely send you a copy of the memo that I sent the mayor's office and to the CAFO. And I'm very grateful that at least they were able to honor this. And the reason for it, and I can also send you guys copies, I do get a lot of requests on an emergency basis from some of the small businesses, not only just facades, which some of the other grants are for, but also in emergencies where they actually need capital or leasing rental, commercial rent, or they're about to get shut down and they're currently in court. I can send you all that documentation, and we step in to try to keep these businesses open that have been open in our community for over 25 years. Those are the small emergencies that kind of don't fit into other categories per se, like the Thriving Lawrence or the new small business grants that, it's being created under the Economic Development Department. These are for those kind of categories that don't fit in, but I can definitely send you a breakdown, and if we can increase that or work together to even help more. And again, it's also for displacements. There's a difference between displacements and homelessness. Displacements is all those fires that we've had. They're not considered homeless under the category of HUD. So we cannot use the HUD funding that we have to assist those families. So we need some other type of funding whenever that happens to either place them in an emergency hotel or give them some sort of assistance, because they're not homeless, they're displaced, whether it might be for a flood or a fire. So I can kind of send that over to you, to the council, just to kind of help you understand a little more why that kind of request was made.
Thank you, Director Pimentel.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you.
Thank you. Question regarding these two departments. So can we, can we figure out the confusion once and for all? The Community Development Office, is it under Office of Planning and Community Development? Is it two separate? What's the deal here?
So,
Yeah,
correct.
can you?
It is under, so
Okay.
the issue is that all the management titles are directors. So under me, the Office of Planning and Development, there is the Director of Community Development, which is Awilda Pimentel. There is the Director of Economic Development, which is Frank Cirillo. And hopefully, as soon as it gets approved, it'll be the Director of Planning as well.
Great. Any other questions or comments for?
And just one more thing, which is not, this is part of the issue, which is not part of this section of my department, which is also the Department of Inspectional Services as well, which is under the Office of Planning and Development as well.
Thank you.
And I would like to also add something too, that I know a lot of people get confused. So also in the Office of Community Development, we have several units. So the CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, the lead department, this is all that I'm listing is under Community Development, Housing Department, Homelessness Unit, the Mayor's Health
Not
Task
departments,
Force,
but yeah. Those are
the
task force.
Homelessness Unit, the Mayor's Health Task Force, the opioid displacements, the winter protocol, and the first-time home buyers. So those are all under community development, which is under the Office of Planning and Development.
That's correct, and that's part of the reason why we're looking to make sure that we're properly staffed, because of the workload that these departments have been doing. They've been really chronically understaffed with some of the projects that we need to manage and the services that we need to provide to the residents of the city.
Great. Council President.
Through you, Madam Chair. So, I mean, are we expecting to have this position based on the grant that we receive every year, or they're going to be permanent position? I mean, I know that they've been permanent for quite some time, but once the grant disappear, that mean that the city going to take over those responsibilities?
Yeah, generally, most of the positions would disappear with the grant, depending on the position. But just as a comment, pardon me, a comment, in general, all the positions in the community development are generally charged to a grant. As Awilda mentioned, CDBG or the home program. But when they work on something that's not grant-related, they need a place to mark their timesheets because they are accountable to the federal and state governments. So they have to mark their timesheets, and that's really what they use the general fund for when they're working on some projects that don't really fit within one of the guidelines of the grants. They have to be able to put something on their timesheet, so that's what they generally use the general fund for, as a catch-all for things that we ask them to do that are outside the grant.
And Council President, we also do list that these positions are grant-funded, and that is part of the stipulation when positions are hired.
Gotcha.
Are you all set?
No, not yet. I'm seeing the grant manager that was under economic development, and now it's going to be under the planning, the Office of Planning.
Correct. So we were moving things around because that function goes across the entire department in terms of the grants are not just limited to community development. For example, there will be planning grants, there will be economic development grants. So we wanted that function to be more part of the administrative function rather than under just one of the departments.
But that position haven't been funded yet, the OPD director.
Yeah, no,
Haven't
no.
been
that
changed
under-
yet.
Under me.
I mean, yes, I mean the plan, the planning.
So the position was moved from community development to under me directly.
But it's still it was gonna be under you because you're.
Correct.
you-
I mean, ultimately, yes.
But I'm wondering why it went to the planning, the Office of Planning instead of staying at the Community Development.
Yeah. So this is more of a technical issue than it is anything else.
Yeah, we intended if we just didn't have time to create the chart of accounts to get it all done. But we intended to have an administration division. Next year in the budget, we'll have an administration division, which is where Carlos and some of the positions that cut across all his divisions will be. And then there'll be a planning division. Because we couldn't create a chart of accounts for this administration function, we placed it in the planning department. So the planning department contains the planning department and the administration of the Office of Planning and Development.
So, Council President, similar to the grant positions that we're putting in there, we're trying to make it more logical in terms of how it's structured, so it's easier to understand and it follows the kind of org structure.
So on that Office of Planning, Madam Chair, we get to the Office of Planning then.
Yeah, yep.
So under the Office of Planning,
Oh, no, we haven't done, no, sorry. We're still in community development.
I'll wait for that when we have full, and then we can probably later.
Okay, perfect. Continuing, Councilor Zone.
So, just for clarification, you're the director for
The
Planning-
Office of Planning and Development.
Office of Planning and Development?
We're getting to that next, so that's the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
right,
it's kind of confusing.
Yeah.
All right, let's
think
keep
of
it-
the Office of Planning and Development as the umbrella to the other departments.
All right,
The
Director
issue
Matos.
is, Counselor, that the title director. I mean, at some point, probably we should think about changing that to make more sense.
Yeah.
So yes, that probably we'll send that down to the council to clarify this, because it does get confusing.
But that, your position through you, Madam Chair, I think the ordinance change, but they don't have nothing to do with inspection of services.
Yes.
His
Inspection
position.
Services reports to me.
Oh, okay. Oh, my.
Okay, Director Matos, please continue, page 62, Planning and Development.
Similarly, this is a department, I think, that has not seen the staffing that it needs in order to do some of the things that the city needs. For example, I'm requesting a neighborhood planner because I think that there's a huge need for us to really start looking at how can we improve the quality of life within neighborhoods, routes, all sorts of adjacencies with regards to parking, all sorts of other issues that the neighborhoods that are particular to the neighborhoods. We've been focusing a lot on the downtown, and that position I think is critical for us to think about how we go and really improve the quality of life within the neighborhoods and plan and incorporate that into a larger plan. The same thing with the comprehensive planner, looking to really augment the work of the land use planner, create more of a master planning process, which is part of the work that we should be doing, and really start looking at it across all areas and work and coordinate, for example, with the Department of Public Works and other departments to be able to improve the types of things and questions that constantly come up at the council level.
I have a question for you, Director Matos.
Yes.
Can you explain the decrease in salary for the asset officer? Why is there a over $3,000 decrease?
That I cannot.
Page 63, asset officer.
So,
I think that's in the union, so maybe it's just positions.
Ms. Sufin, do you have some information on this? Thank you.
So we adjusted that salary to the actual salary that the person in that position is being paid right now. So the previous person in that position was paid a little bit higher, the current person is paid a little bit less than was budgeted last year. So that's just an adjustment to make it to the actual salary this person's making.
And I would actually make a plug here for what Director Wilda Pimentel stated in terms of gender equity in salaries.
Thank you.
Well, I mean,
Officer. Thank you.
yeah, I'm glad because I don't understand why, it's 2024 and the fact that we're even talking about this is insane. But I just did more research while you guys were discussing this. And I found the average for the city of Boston, which is I understand it's a much bigger city, but the asset officer pay range is for the city of Boston, $61,394 to $87,139. So, I mean, lowballing again, but I understand there's some issues that we need to look further into.
I am happy to go and level fund that position if it's pleases the council.
Any questions, councilors?
Through you, Madam Chair.
Council President?
So I'm seeing here that we have a 6 3/4 position. I mean 5 3/4 position. And 2/3, I'm sorry.
5.33 positions, yes.
5.67 position.
Again, because we moved a few positions, there's a few positions on here that are not new. The manager of financial and administrative services is not a new position, that was in community development. It might not have even been in the budget last year, because it was paid by a grant. And then the finance officer, the same thing, and the grant writer, the same thing. They're all paid out of grants, and they were not in the budget last year, and not in the planning office.
So again, because of trying to show the positions that were normally grant funded, this is going to look a little bit higher than what.
No, I mean, okay, that's the finance officer. What other? The grant writer was
Correct.
another.
Manager, financial administrative services.
And the grant reimbursements as well.
Grant?
The grant writer, the finance officer, who else?
The manager. Manager of financial administration, finance officer, and the grant writer.
The manager was on a grant?
Before was the manager, it's still on the grant, but it wasn't shown before, previously on the budget. As a matter of fact, you know her.
We know everybody. All right, and so basically I'm seeing here that the grant reimbursement compared to the other departments is a little less.
Correct.
So, and that's not even covering one position, or 2 positions perhaps, little less than 2 positions, but we're asking for 5-point-something positions. I mean, how you think that we're gonna be able to afford those positions once grants are gone?
Briefly, and as Carlos mentioned a moment ago, there are a couple new positions he's asking for, a neighborhood planner, a comprehensive planner. The grant reimbursements are generally chargeable to the community development block grant and the home grant for the manager and the finance officer. That's a good portion of their time is chargeable to grants.
And then
Including some of the time, we'll be able to, I believe, charge more time to grants as we obtain them. We have some grants, for example, that relate very much to the planning function, that we could charge some of their time to this. But like I said before, we're unlike other departments that don't even have that option. The positions that we are asking for usually are either anywhere between 50% or more that are funded from other sources of income. And by staffing up, we're able to attract more of those types of things, and then also take into consideration the fact that the activities are not supplementing, but allowing the city to be able to do things that its budget doesn't allow it to do.
So, Director,
Yes.
I'm seeing that before, for the last years that I've been here, the 3 departments have and 1 recessionist. Now I'm seeing that the Office of Planning is gonna have their own receptionist. And then I'm seeing that the other two departments only have 2/3 of that receptionist, of that salary. So you guys gonna have two receptionists within the department, or just one? Because I'm seeing the other ones is 0.33, and then this one is going all the way to one.
The receptionist was 1/3 charged to economic development, 1/3 to community development, and 1/3 to the planning. This year, we're just putting it all in the planning, because again, that should be an administrative cost, so it's not gonna be distributed to the other.
Again, some of this is due to accounting change,
Got it.
reorganization of things.
All right. And is the reception, since the community development have more grants available, it wouldn't make sense to just keep it on the community development, since that person is doing work for the community development?
It's still.
Because it have more funds.
If they're receptionists for all three departments, they can't charge all the time to community development. Economic development time would not be chargeable, so I'm not sure how they allocate that position's time on the grants, but Sue could probably explain it, if any of it is chargeable to grants. But they do have a number of grants, as Wilda stipulated, they probably have 10 grants that they're running at any point in time. And whatever time can be charged to grants, they do so, and if they can't, that's where the general fund comes in.
And it doesn't prevent the person from charging their time, because they're put basically organizationally under this department. They still, if they work on it and the grant allows that, they can still charge their time
Just
regardless
wondering.
of where this at.
Obviously, this is not targeting the receptionist position at all whatsoever, because I don't even know who's there. I don't care who's
Sure.
the person, but just walk me through the position's duties.
What position?
So-
To make a point
Sure,
here.
sure. You walk through the door, and there's a receptionist there that greets you. And that person takes down the information, similar to in other departments where there are clerks that take down the name information, and they triage where or what services that particular person may or may not need. And at that point, that's what if they can troubleshoot whatever immediate need, or they provide some other services, or they may be even to be able to provide information to the constituents that come to the front desk. And if that's a quick question, they can answer that. Similar to, like, for example, the help desk in DPW or other departments that have that.
Very similar, I can see.
Very similar, yes.
And that person might walk you through another department,
Correct.
perhaps because he's working for any of those three departments.
Correct.
If the department needs something related to the boards, he walk you through that person, so far so on,
Or
right?
direct you to who would have that information, yes.
Yes. So that, I'm trying to make
And
a point.
understand something, the way that the community development office is set up, it's not quite like City Hall. If there was nobody there, somebody could walk through the entire place. So we definitely need somebody there at that post.
Pick up the phone call,
Correct.
and perhaps that extension might send you over to City Hall as well, right?
Correct. And there's also mail functions and things like that, correspondence.
So if you walk to any department in the city, within City Hall that have receptionists, those duties are similar,
I believe so.
perhaps. Perhaps the mayor's office, right?
No, she, so I
All
stepped
right.
I
out.
wouldn't speak to the specific duties of other departments.
I'm
but just-
talking
just
about
in
your
gen-
your
in
position.
general- In general, I would say yes, Council
Okay.
President.
All right, no more questions. That's it.
Any other questions for this? Seeing none, okay. Next up is, I just lost my place, I was going ahead a bit. Boards and commissions. Page 64. So I see that's level funded.
Correct, this is pretty straightforward,
Yep.
there's really no change to these.
Yep, same thing. Same thing with the salaries, page 66 is level funded, but Director, can you, for the record, can you tell us what's the difference? So we have under zoning board member salaries, we have zoning board members, which we have 5, and their stipend or salary totals altogether $11,250. But we also have 2 associate zoning board members. Can you explain what is an associate zoning board member?
Sure, so let's say that, and I think this has happened sometimes with the council, you have consider it like an alternate. If someone's not able to show up, they can show up and fill in for the person that's not able to attend.
Okay. And do we have, there's 2, so in total, and well, hold on, let me go back. The 2 associate zoning board members, and this is just for people watching at home, their stipends or salaries totals $2,700. So all 7
Or
positions.
$1,300 each, yes.
Yeah. All 7 members, they're all filled on the
I
zoning
believe
board?
that there might be a vacancy on one of the associate members. I have to double check. I believe that the mayor fills those and not, I
Yep.
don't fill those.
Yep.
So the mayor's office fills those, but I think that they were working on filling any vacancies that may have.
All right, the next one is economic development, page 67. So this actually has almost a $100,000 increase.
Again, some of this is because of we're looking to add 1 position, and if you look at page 68. This department is very low-staffed. And in order to really support the economic development that we're thinking about in terms of assistance to small businesses and really focus on that, we need at least another position to assist with that. And my expectations is that these positions will also be supplemented and assisted through grant funding.
Councilors, any questions or comments? Council President.
Can you, can you send us a quick script of, usually we got the plant user, which is Dan McCarthy, to brief us when it comes to that, the zoning board and the planning board every budget season, to talk about, different things, what's going on there. Can you send us some brief information about and overall how those departments, the difference between the 2 and how they are doing when it comes to vacancies? The Madam Chair just mentioned one. And also when it comes to the work that they've been doing for the last year. So usually we don't have that many interactions with those 2 departments. I don't want to miss this opportunity either.
Okay, I will provide that for you.
Thank you. And just to reiterate, Director Matos and Director Pimentel, any additional resources or information that this body has requested this week, I am asking directors to have that to us before the end of this week. So for you guys, it is a short turnaround.
Through you, Madam Chair.
Yes, Councilor Luzon.
I would like to know how much money you're planning to spend and consultants, if it's possible, or from where you're getting, how much you spent in this fiscal year.
I don't have that information currently.
Director Matos, from where you guys get the money for consultants? And give me an example. like,
Professional
anyone.
services.
Okay. Because there's not a lot being,
Thank you, Director Matos. So when I check, it's the amount of money is not enough to cover for consultants.
Correct.
So-
I think that that's an area that's always a little difficult to estimate. And if, at that point, if we would fall short, I think we would have to do some transfers to be able to do those types of things. But because of the fact that we're not actively able to predict like how many consultants we will need or won't need necessarily, we try to keep that number conservative. And then it comes back to the council, for example, if we need transfers into those lines for those type of services.
Through you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Director Matos. you mentioned, several times you had mentioned the business in the community. And I think in order to find out what they need, you guys gonna have to go into the field and get answers from our common businesses, bodegueros, beauty supplies, et cetera, et cetera. You know this community. You're very familiar with this community. And I think it's time, and that's why I asked about the money, from where you're gonna get your money, consulting money. But it's time to get a real data about what the business community needs in Lawrence.
I couldn't
Not the
agree with
big
you more.
companies, not the big companies. The regular business owners that you are very familiar with.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, and I think that that's an important emphasis. We do need to support the small business. I'm a big proponent of it. I understand that they are the ones that are actually doing the lion's share of the local hiring, and they're vital, as we saw during COVID, vital to the city's well-being and to providing essential services when we need them. And they have been an unsung hero in the economy of the city of Lawrence. So I couldn't agree with you more. And I'm a very big fan of data-driven decisions or data-informed decisions. So I definitely would support that type of survey and understanding of the business community.
Thank you, Director Matos, I appreciate it.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Through you, Madam
Council
Chair.
President.
Do you mind just to have a continue the conversation about what Councilor Luzon was saying? Do you mind on the budgets just to have it as clear as possible? Do you mind sending us a list of professional services on each department per department, so we can have that clear in one email, separate from other information that you're going to send to us, so we can have that as part of that. But since you have many other departments, you're probably going to have
Yes.
different line items.
Yes.
He looks
Thank
like so it's like, she got it, she got it. All right, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, thank you, Director Matos, thank you,
councilors.
Director Pimentel. We are all set for tonight. Councilors, can I have a motion
Thank you,
to recess
So
until the
move.
next? Motion has been made by Council President, seconded by Councilor Luzon. All those in favor say aye. Aye, and the ayes have it. Thank you so much, councilors.